Welcome, guys. Let's talk a little bit more about Taoism and Qi Gong. Okay, so question today. Lauren, 6448. Hi, Lauren. So, question. It's not easy for me to work vertically because it's up and down all the time, activating by fears and trauma. I'm always at the top of the head, and when I try to go down, a fear comes and I get out on the top. I lose my mental strength, so as I yet burned out and inflamed, it adds more fatigue. Also, I saw the vertical link inside has broken, and all my dantian are near totally empty. It makes me thinking what a huge work I have to do from inside. Too much for me. So I asked what the body does automatically without any intervention. It would reassure me and I could focus on the essentials. I wonder as well if trying to link with the heart middle dantian would help to stabilize all the energetic field and get energy back in all the dantian, like floating water. I'm trying to express my concerns about my ignorance and how the energy body works and the great work that seems to need to be done in my case. I hope to get some answers, please. Okay, Lauren, we can totally discuss that. And also, when we finish, you can always leave another comment if it doesn't really understand like what I'm talking about. But it seems to me you are trying to do a lot of work when you're already really depleted, right? I can only speak for my tradition. But as you know, if you follow my work, I was really sick about 5 years ago. Really, really sick. I couldn't even walk 20 feet, and I couldn't talk. I couldn't count to 20. I had brain fog all the time. No energy, allergies acting up, getting sick all the time. My immune system was really weak. Can't recover from the most basic cold. So, and then eventually it got worse, and then the emotional symptoms started, which I'll leave for another episode. So, I've been there, and maybe it sounds pretty similar to me, right? So you're asking, should you link the center and you have trouble working on the vertical plane? Personally, in what I do is a non-doing tradition, the original Taoism, which is different than a doing tradition where there's a lot of stages, a lot of techniques, a lot of methods, and you have to focus on visualizing different things and doing different work with different parts of the body, right? In a non-doing tradition, there's no technique, no stages, no method, because it recognizes that the mindset of constantly trying to improve something, the mindset of constantly feeling not good enough, the mindset of trying to fix everything, the mindset of chasing stuff. That's what everybody does every day. And that causes an enormous amount of stress, burnout, anxiety, depression. That way of life causes burnout. So when we're trying to heal ourselves in the original Taoism, we don't want to have a mindset of chasing, of improving or fixing, because that mindset is what produced the illness in the first place. So we don't want to repeat the same mindset. So the attitude is really important. And it's like the famous Zen or Taoist analogy in Chinese medicine. That is, if you're going to grow a plant, you want to set the precondition. Get good soil, you plant the plant, make sure there's sunlight going on it, that you got enough water, and then the rest is up to Mother Nature and the plant naturally grow. So all the doing that you do is really just setting the precondition. But the growth itself is not up to you. You can't go up to the plant and pull it to make it grow any faster or stronger. So that is the premise, a very basic premise of original Taoism. When you're talking about that you're too tired and you can't get your dantian to fill up, you can't get your energy back, and you link the different centers. The first thing is you don't try to link the different centers. In fact, your second center is for emotional healing mostly, and your highest center is really for merging. But your first center down here is where your physical energy is, and we should start there. So don't worry too much about linking the different center. Start with the beginning, the physical energy boost, which is filling up this center. And you don't do anything to fill up that center, at least not in our tradition of the original Taoism. At the point that I was extremely burned out, and I couldn't even count to 20, there was no way at that time, a few years ago, about 5 years ago, I could do anything or focus or visualize. My mind, I had so much brain fog at the time There was no way I could do anything. So that's why I did the non-doing tradition. It's a very powerful way to charge your entire body, but it starts with the center. So when you fill up the center, once it gets full enough, what usually happens is it starts to sprout like a water fountain. And then when it sprouts high enough, you'll get into your extremities. So your whole body gets charged up. And if your whole body gets charged up enough, it'll start exiting your body into your field. And then your field becomes a container to get even more energy into your energy field and not just your body. So that's some of the generalized progression of what happens. But all this happens without you doing anything, right? So when you ask, how do you charge your dantian? There's moving practices, standing practices, laying down practices, right? And also sitting practices. So look at it as a progression. Laying down, sitting down, standing up, and moving. Of the four, the core is the standing and sitting still. It's much more powerful than moving. But if you're at a state where you didn't say that in your question, but so you might not have to do it. But if you're very stressed out and you can't concentrate, you should start with moving practice. If you feel like you can concentrate, then you can skip the moving part. If your main purpose is to charge your center, you can start by standing and sitting, right? And then don't worry about the laying down for now. For charging the center, if you look at it like a spectrum, standing naturally, standing practices of not moving, post-training, is the fastest and most powerful way, according to original Taoism, and also according to my personal experience, the fastest and most powerful way to charge the lower center, to get physical qi energy. Sitting is more for spirituality, for these two centers. But in between the two, if you look at lotus sitting or sitting on a bench like I am now, you're basically isolating your spine by cutting off your arm and body, right? Like if I'm sitting there like this, for example. So that's more for spirituality, isolating your central channel. If I'm standing like this, I'm using my arm and my legs, and it charges my body for physical energy. In between the two, between sitting on a cushion in a lotus position and between standing, like post-training, in between the two, sitting in a chair. So when you're trying to fill up your physical energy, the best thing to do is standing. But if you're too weak to stand, like I was, then you should sit in a chair. And then later on in a few months, you rotate between sitting in a chair and standing. And when you get tired, you go back to sitting in a chair. Once you recharge, you go back to standing. You'll rotate between the two until you hit about half an hour. If you're strong enough, you just stand. Stand for half an hour. If you're too weak to even rotate, like I was a few years ago, then just do sitting in a chair. But don't do lotus position sitting. That's more for spirituality, and it won't give you the benefit that you want. And I'm assuming, based on your question, you're trying to get physical energy first, your lower dantian. If that's the case, then you should sit in the chair. If you can, stand up. Once we got that handle, now we talk about how to actually do it, right? When you want to fill up the lower center, in our tradition, we don't try to do anything to fill it up. We don't visualize anything. We don't, nothing. You simply root and have everything going down by relaxing. And if you do that properly, your mind will start going crazy. There are many techniques that I teach and many people teach to get rid of that part. Once you get rid of the mind chattering all the time and you calm down and you learn all the different methods to open up the spine, naturally the stuff will start coming in and open up the head and the bottom of the feet and rooting into the ground, opening all the pores in the body, right? Once you do that, naturally down here will start filling up a little bit by a little bit by a little bit. You don't have to do anything. It's easier said than done. You actually got to learn the methods, right? So what I recommend you do is, for post-training and for sitting practices, very specifically sitting in a chair, you can go and find anybody that teaches that. A good Tai Chi teacher, a good I Chuan teacher, a good medical Qi Gong teacher. Any one of those three that are any good should be able to do that really easily, right? Try to stay away from just moving around qigong practices. That kind of stuff is pretty good as a warm-up, but if you're in a position where you really want to charge your battery, it shouldn't take you more than 3 months, and you should go directly into post-training and sitting in a chair. If you can't find a teacher, I always recommend you can join my program. We work on that all the time. all the practices for the sitting in a chair and post training is in my program. So those are some of your options. But let me give you a disclaimer, right? All the knowledge in the world is completely useless if someone doesn't practice consistently. In order to charge the lower dantian, you should be practicing about half an hour a day, about twice a day. And right around the 90-day mark, you see a huge difference. Because I make a lot of my students keep a 100-day journal, and I also did that when I was going through that problem. And most of us was healed around 90 days. But if you just collect more tricks and more knowledge and all that stuff, right? That's what most people do. And then refuse to practice consistently. Those are the two things I notice about people that are ill. Then you can drag on for 10, 20 years and nothing's going to happen. So no amount of talking, no amount of collecting techniques is going to help us. We have to practice consistently and just do the simple method of non-doing. That would charge the battery like crazy. For example, my second teacher in Qigong is Professor Zheng Shifeng. He worked in the cancer department in the hospital of Beijing with the founder of each one, Wang Hingzai. The two of them, the founder and my teacher, saw many, many chronically ill patients with more serious condition that I went through, even though I almost died, and probably more serious condition than you. He was fully trained in Chinese medicine as a professor, and he was fully trained in medical Qigong as a professor, which is all doing practice for different organs and different problems. When I asked him, I said, Sifu, of your 50 years of experience working with cancer patients and other illnesses in China, tens of thousands of patients in your career, and knowing all the medical Qigong that the communist government was making doctors learn, what was the most powerful way? And he says post-training. So he echoed what a lot of Qigong masters said, even though that's not popular today because it doesn't sell. Nobody wants to say just stand there, do nothing. Instead, we want to sell different Qigong techniques, right? But all that crap aside, looking at what actually happens, stop collecting tricks and start training, right? And again, if you can't find a good Tai Chi teacher, each one teacher, drop a comment below or join my program. If for some reason it doesn't feel right, no problem. I can refer you to someone else. But please give yourself a chance and practice actual stillness. That would charge your battery. And stay away from visualizing, hard focusing, and doing, because that action itself drains more energy. All right. I hope I answered your question. If not, leave a message below. And for the rest of you watching, please leave all your messages below, all your questions. I really enjoy talking about it instead of talking to myself. And for those that are interested in my program, I only have one official website, it's adamchenlive.com. You can see it in the description below. The program that I offer is the Taoist Qi Gong program. It comes with lying down, sitting, standing, moving, and the 5-element practice of Qigong. There's a live stream guided meditation class every week, as well as a student library. All classes are in there, so in case you miss a class, don't worry about it. It comes with a student forum and also personalized coaching and a bunch of other stuff you can check out for yourself. Anyways, take care, guys. See you next time.